My MO, pretty much from the beginning, at least when I started to make records, was I'd write a record, record it, and write it to be an album and something to listen to kind of at the same time. And then I'd go out and tour to support that record, because that's what I learned to do when I came up doing this. There's been a couple of interruptions. One was totally self-inflicted by myself. And then there's the one recently when we all got interrupted. Now, during that time, in 2019, I wrote a record and I recorded it, and then nobody went fucking anywhere for a couple of years. Most of that record's called Ghosts of West Virginia, and most of the songs on it were written for a play called Coal Country, which went up. I moved to New York like 19 years ago to do music for theater. That's why I moved there. And I've done a couple of these plays with music. I'm working on a real musical now, and that's a whole other adventure. But this was Jessica Blank and Eric Jensen and I were commissioned by the Public Theater, and we traveled to West Virginia, and we met the folks, the survivors, and that means a few guys that were there, and then most of the family of guys that didn't make it, of the worst coal mining disaster, worst explosion since the 1970s in this country. 29 guys died. And theater takes a while. We went down there, we met those folks, and we worked on it. We worked on it for 4 years. And then it went up at the Public Theater in New York City on March the 3rd, 2020. And it came down to 13 when all the rest of the theater in New York did. But we did get back up when we got the world back. So I'm grateful for that. Because this was a story that was important to me to tell on several levels. I mean, I've been looking for some kind of record I could make that could help me start a conversation or get into a conversation about where I think we're at in this country, and that is, I think we're in all this trouble because we stopped listening to each other, and because we become so divided and so pointing fingers and blaming everything on somebody else that instead of trying to figure out what we can do together to make it better. And I think we used to do that, sometimes grudgingly, but we did it. And I don't know what changed, a lot of things did. But so the idea of introducing New Yorkers to West Virginia and vice versa interested me. Like, for instance, if you ask somebody in New York about West Virginia, they'd say, oh, well, that's a red state, that's a Trump state. That's not true. It's a purple state at best. They've got a Democratic senator. He's an asshole, but they got it. But there's, what it is a coal state. And then people on my side of this, my politics haven't changed a bit. I'm a radical motherfucker. But that being said, I come from, pretty, there were nobody conservative in my family, but they were pretty moderate. And I've watched some moderate people kind of go the other direction, some of whom I love. And it's been, we've all had that experience, I think. Pretty much anybody's had that experience. But just the idea of, like right there, this mine that blew up Upper Big Branch was the first non-union mine on that mountain, y'all. Now, that's what trade unions do, is they protect workers. And right there was the beginning of the conversation. That was the beginning of the conversation. Something I didn't think New Yorkers and West Virginians knew they had in common was the whole concept of trade unionism, because that's becoming more important as this part in our history you watch. There's no place else we can go, or nobody's going to have anything that isn't already rich. So it was just, it was important to me to start that and that conversation. And the West Virginians that portrayed the show came to New York, saw the show, and they thought we got it right. That was important to us. And now, if you were up really early on the morning of April the 6th, 2010, The explosion at Upper Big Branch was national news for about 30 seconds. All the cable channels, all the networks were out there talking to anybody that would talk to them. One person you would have definitely heard from was a gentleman called Tommy Davis. Tommy was there that day. Just came up top right before it blew. But in that instant, Tommy lost his firstborn son, his nephew, and his big brother. So Tommy was talking. Tommy was angry. Tommy wanted answers. Living in our eyes when you're talking to me. Want to see in your soul when you lie. Don't try and tell me that you couldn't foresee what everybody reckons was a matter of time. Goddamn right, I'm emotional. I ain't nothing but a man. Hell yes, it's personal. Before you leave here, gonna understand. It's about fathers. It's about son. It's about lovers waking up in the middle of the night. It's about muscle, it's about bone, it's about a river running thicker than water, and it's about blood. Once upon a time in America, working man knew where it stood, and nowadays just getting by some milk, probably couldn't give it up if I would. Try and tell me about the state of the economy, fiscal reality, profit and loss. None of that matters when you're underground anyway. Damn shit can't tell me nothing about cost. It's about fathers, it's about sons, it's about lovers waking up in the middle of the night alone. It's about muscle, it's about bone, it's about a river running thicker than water, and it's about blood. It was an accident, isolated incident, part of the job. Yeah, we'll tell that to the families, kids without daddies, and tell it to God. Is that the one you hear howling through the holler? Or the ghost of a widow that cries for every man that died for a cold from a dollar, a lung full of dust and a heart full of lies? It's about fathers, it's about sons, it's about lovers waking up in the middle of the night. It's about muscle, it's about bone, it's about a river running thick and water, and it's about blood. It's about Pee Wee Acord, Jason Atkins, Chris Bell, Greg Brock, Kenny Chapman, Robert E. Clark, Jimmy Davis, Corey Davis, Michael Lee Ellswick, William L. Griffith,